Hi and welcome back. So in this video we're just going to be creating the new project for our app and talking a bit about what is JSON. So the first thing to do is go ahead and create another project here under the full stack folder, and I'm going to call it price of chair, and I'm going to stick to using the same virtual environment. Simply because we didn't really use it in the last video in creating the last project. So I'm going to reuse it for now because the other project really isn't much of a project, so we can reuse it for this one and create another one when we do need it afterwards. So then normally when you'd create a project you would have the name of the project here at the topmost folder, and then you would create a Python package and call it src for source code. So your project would not be called src originally. That was only for sake of example and speed that we did that in the previous project we created. But in here we're going to create the source folder, and then notice how it creates an init.py file immediately inside it. That is Python's way of knowing that this src folder will contain Python files. It's nothing scary. Okay, so now we've got our project, which is also using the virtual environments that we used before. I'm going to create another file in here, and I'm going to call this file data.json. And notice how the wee icon here at the side of the file has JSON written on it. This is because JSON is a type of data. More specifically, it's a type of data that has two large data structures available to it and a bunch of data types as well. So what do I mean with this? All JSON files are structured starting with an opening and closing brace. And this is essentially like a table in a database, or rather like a row even. The first thing you have is a name, for example, students. And then this student has a value associated with it. So you can think of students as the key, or the name of the row in the table, the name of the column rather. So students would be the key, and then it would have a value associated with it. The most logical value to be associated with a students element is a collection of students, a list of students really. And indeed JSON has something like that. So you can create lists in JSON by using square brackets, unlike the curly braces used originally. And then inside the square brackets we can put the data that we want to store. For example, we've got 3 students in our students list. Okay, so that's fair enough. That kind of makes sense, yeah. But it seems a bit limited that we can only store a list of students and give that name. It probably does mean that we can look for the students element and then get a list of them, which from a programming sense is interesting. But we can do more. We can in fact use curly braces here and then say things like name. Jose, Mark, 100. ID, something like that. And then we can do the same for the other students as well. Notice how there's commas here and here, but not at the very end. So we could have something like that. And indeed, we could have another list inside a student and then another dictionary inside it, and so on and so on. So by now you've probably gathered that these things in curly braces are called dictionaries or objects, and that these things in square brackets are called lists. So a dictionary is simply a key value pair set. So we can have one key and one value, or we can have more keys and more values. But one key can only have one value associated with it. So we could not have name here twice. That would be wrong. So we can't really do that. But this is the power of JSON. It is used to structure and send information in a way that is easily readable and easily followed, both by humans and by the computer as well. It's really very easy to interact with. And also, as well as JSON, we've got something called XML. So I'm going to create something called a file called data.xml, and XML is similar in a sense that we can have also enclosing the students. We can have these two tags, this opening tag and this closing tag with the backward slash or forward slash, and then we can have something like name, or rather Jose, and then the mark 100 and things like that. So I'm not really see, this would be a big error. This would be an interesting problem here, where the name of the student is Mark, and then he's got a mark associated with it. So XML also has some problems, just like any other type of data. And I will not be covering XML. I have never used XML before. I will not be covering it at all. This is just to give you a sense of what it is and how you write it, so you can kind of recognize it when you do see it. And XML, just like HTML, works by having these tags enclosing the content that the tag refers to. So the students here would have these two tags inside it, and each one of them would have something in them as well. However, as I said, we're not going to be looking at XML at all throughout the course. It's not really that used nowadays, especially not with Python. So we're going to be focusing on JSON, which is very versatile, very lightweight way of doing things. So this was JSON and a quick overview of what XML looks like, but really nothing in depth. Probably something that's completely wrong as well by XML standards, but just to let you know what it looks like. And now what we're going to be looking at in the very next few videos is how to interact with the web, how to make web requests, and how to parse websites, and how to get data out of them. So I'm excited about them. So I'll see you in the very next video.